Usually when we talk about diagnosing a problem, like a medical diagnosis, there is a baseline expectation of absolute precision.
Oh, yeah. Like you want a definitive answer.
Exactly. You break your arm, you go to the hospital, the x-ray shows that stark, jagged white line right across the bone, and the doctor just points at the screen and says, well, there it is.
Right. It's visible, and, more importantly, it's verifiable. We have this deep psychological need for things to be categorized neatly.
Totally.
Broken or intact, sick or healthy.
But the moment you step outside the physical body and try to diagnose the collective human mind, like when you step into the world of human attention and behavioral kinetics, that x-ray machine it's completely useless.
Oh, completely.
The diagnostic landscape we're looking at today is incredibly murky. You can't just take a snapshot of a society's brain and see exactly where their focus is fractured or, where their desires are forming.
Right, and I'd argue it's even more complex than just being murky. Human attention is, well, it's effectively a highly volatile fluid. It is chaotic, it evaporates rapidly, and it's constantly reacting to a million different invisible stimuli simultaneously. What grabs an entire nation's focus at, say, 9:00 a.m., might be completely forgotten by lunchtime.
And if you've ever wondered why the internet obsesses over one singular topic on a Tuesday and then completely forgets it even exists by Thursday, the data we are unpacking today shows us exactly why.
It really does.
Welcome to another deep dive. Today we are stepping into the AI market arena to examine a highly complex trend tracking system. We are looking directly at the observation log for June 17th, 2026.
And we should probably clarify up front what we actually mean when we talk about tracking here.
Yeah, good point.
Because when we reference the heat of a trend today, we aren't just talking about arbitrary popularity.
Right.
This system measures an aggregate score of search velocity, social media sentiment density, and news cycle momentum. It is essentially a highly sensitive thermometer for the collective consciousness.
Exactly. We are watching a pure simulation today. Two advanced algorithmic systems trying to map public attention in Japan. And just to be completely clear with you, the listener, this is a laboratory experiment in trend tracking.
Pure observation log.
Right. We are strictly analyzing algorithmic behavior and trend intelligence. None of this is like a tip sheet for your stock portfolio. Nothing discussed constitutes investment advice, nor is it a prompt to trade or buy anything.
No, not at all.
We are here for the psychology, not the finance.
That framing is so essential. If you approach this data looking for, a financial cheat code, you'll completely miss the actual revelation. We are looking at this to understand the underlying mechanics of what people care about and, crucially, how fast they stop caring.
Right, and to do that, we have to introduce the two heavyweight algorithms of battling in this simulation because they represent two completely opposing strategic philosophies.
They really do. It's night and day.
On one side, we have Team Rhino Titans. Their foundational logic is built entirely on searching for what they call structural stillness.
Right, structural stillness.
They are looking for equilibrium. They want to find the solid ground, the predictable, deep-seated anchors in human behavior that basically dictate the data.
What's fascinating here is that they operate almost like sociologists. They're looking for the tectonic plates of trend prediction.
Tectonic plates, I like that.
Yeah, the slow, massive, inevitable forces that shape everything above them.
And then, on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, we have Team Falcon arrows. Their philosophy couldn't be more different. They are attempting to ride the waves of kinetic propagation.
Kinetic propagation, yeah.
They are hunting for the dynamic, the fast-spreading momentum, the contagious ideas. They don't want the solid ground. They want to map the tsunami.
The clash of worldviews here is what makes this observation log so incredibly compelling to me. They are both taking the exact same raw, chaotic data points from the Japanese market.
Millions of searches and clicks.
Exactly. Millions of digital conversations. But they are translating them through entirely different lenses. Do you build your predictive model betting that human nature is fundamentally static and cyclical? Or do you bet that human attention is highly reactive, constantly driven by the newest, fastest stimulus?
It is a profound behavioral question. So Rhino and Turkinov laid down their predictive philosophies, but a hypothesis is entirely useless until it hits the real world.
Absolutely.
So let's look at the fresh seeds they planted today. At 0.000 UTC, both teams received their new keyword briefings. Each team deployed one specific predictive keyword that will be evaluated over a 10-day trend window.
new deployments.
Right. Team Rhino Titans deployed the keyword Namook, which translates to drowsiness, categorized under physiology.
It is a deeply calculated deployment for mid-June in Japan.
It really is. Their logic here is entirely structural. As late June approaches, Japan enters its rainy season, bringing rapidly rising temperatures and that famously oppressive heavy humidity.
Oh, it's brutal.
Rhino is predicting that this atmospheric shift is going to severely disrupt sleep quality nationwide. They are betting this will drive a massive collective spike in interest regarding insomnia, short sleep cycles, and, sleep environment optimization.
Right, but let's look at what Team Falcon Arrows deployed. They injected Agento, or agent, categorized under technology.
Okay.
They're focusing squarely on autonomous artificial intelligence entities, software that doesn't just chat with you, but actually perceives its environment, makes decisions, and executes actions on a user's behalf.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because you're telling me Rhino is betting on people sweating and feeling sluggish, while Falcon is betting on cutting-edge autonomous software momentum.
Yes.
Those aren't just different strategic philosophies. They don't even feel like they're playing the same sport. How does a widespread weather pattern even begin to compete with a global tech rollout in the same attention arena?
Well, they're playing entirely different sports, but they are competing for the exact same finite resource, which is the human attention span. This contrast perfectly illustrates how deeply their algorithms diverge. Rhino's choice of Namook, or drowsiness, is just a masterclass in isolating structural stillness.
How so?
Well, they are looking at the data and deciding to strip away all the noise of the daily news cycle, the stock market fluctuations, the pop culture drama. They are drilling all the way down to the most fundamental, inescapable biological baseline.
The need for sleep.
Right. Because you can't unsubscribe from the weather.
That's true. You really can't.
Precisely. You cannot escape the Japanese summer humidity. It acts as an immovable structural force on the population. As that humidity rises, millions of people will collectively experience the exact same physiological discomfort at the exact same time.
Wow, yeah.
Their parasympathetic nervous systems are going to react. That is highly predictable. Rhino is calculating that regardless of what new tech is trending, people are going to be physically tired, and their search habits will reflect a desperate need for a solution to that tiredness.
So Rhino bets the house on human biology, but Falcon Arrows looks at the exact same calendar date and what completely ignores the physical environment.
Yeah, Falcon is entirely focused on the digital environment.
Yeah.
They are trying to catch the kinetic propagation of a technological wave that is fundamentally changing how we interact with computers.
Because AI agents are huge right now.
Massive. Autonomous AI agents represent a huge shift in utility. Falcon is betting that the sheer velocity of this adoption, like the contagious momentum of people realizing software can now do their digital chores, will cut right through any physical fatigue.
Oh, interesting.
They believe the cognitive heat generated by this innovation will vastly outpace the biological heat generated by the weather.
It's a literal battle between meat space biology and cyberspace momentum. It's fascinating. But injecting these new keywords into the arena is only the starting line. We also need to see how these algorithms handle the middle of the journey.
Right, the active missions.
Exactly. Let's look at the bets they placed a few days ago and see how they are surviving the daily noise right now.
This is where we transition from the theory to the rough seas of the live Japanese trend environment.
Let's check the real-time signals. Team Rhino Titans has an active mission tracking the keyword Prime Day, categorized under lifestyle. Currently, it is holding an average heat increase of plus 25.8%.
That's solid.
Very solid. Meanwhile, Team Falcon Arrows is tracking SpaceX, categorized under finance, and that keyword is currently sitting at an average heat increase of plus 11.0%.
Okay.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because this seems completely counterintuitive to me. Rhino's lifestyle anchor, which is ultimately just a big online discount shopping event, is currently generating more than double the trend heat of Falcon's high-tech, rocket-launching, multiplanetary keyword.
And it sounds crazy, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, I actually think this makes perfect sense when you look at the mechanics of economic gravity.
Economic gravity.
Yeah, both of these keywords are surviving the daily noise, which is an achievement in itself.
Yeah.
But why is Prime Day running so much hotter than SpaceX? You have to look beyond the surface excitement.
Because intuitively, SpaceX is objectively more exciting. It's the future of humanity in space. Prime Day is like figuring out if you can get a blender for 20% off.
Right, but excitement doesn't always equal sustained cognitive heat. Prime Day represents a massive scheduled node of structural stillness. It's not just about buying a blender, It's a highly anticipated event that dictates the logistics, advertising budgets, and personal spending habits of millions of people simultaneously.
It's a whole ecosystem.
Exactly. It has immense economic utility. There is a collective compounding momentum as small businesses prepare inventory, content creators make deal guides, and consumers build wish lists. It is a shared, tangible, highly practical experience.
It has a direct impact on their immediate reality.
Precisely. SpaceX, conversely, operates on sporadic burst momentum. A rocket launch generates massive kinetic heat for about 24 hours, but then it rapidly dissipates until the next major test flight or announcement.
Right, the news cycle moves on.
Yeah. Falcon's keyword sitting at plus 11.0% shows it still has a baseline of kinetic energy, but it simply cannot outcompete the broad, deep, structural anticipation of a major retail event that directly impacts the daily lives of the population.
So surviving the middle of the 10-day window requires either massive structural weight or constant kinetic bursts. But holding on to that heat until the very end, that is the real test.
The final hurdle.
Yeah. We have to look at what happens when the 10-day evaluation clock finally runs out and the outcome is locked in. Let's pull up the mission completed reports.
This is where the simulation gets truly ruthless.
We have to start with a brutal reality check. Team Rhino Titans. 10 days ago, they deployed the keyword QFICN, which translates to government benefit payment, categorized under finance. And the final, locked-in outcome today. A devastating crash of minus 61.1%.
Why? That is not just a dip. That is a total collapse of attention.
It's a sheer cliff. And I genuinely struggle to understand the mechanics here. We are talking about government benefit payments. That is literally free money being distributed to the public. How does interest in free money drop by over 60% in just 10 short days?
I'd actually push back on the free money assumption, because that assumes the transaction is simple.
Oh, right.
This minus 61.1% result is exactly why we analyze this observation log. This massive drop is tangible proof that the rules of the Japanese trend environment transform violently under Rhino's feet.
How so?
Well, if you apply the pure logic of structural stillness, a government benefit payment seems like the stickiest topic possible. People want their money, they need to know how to get it, so they should be constantly searching for it.
Right. You would assume the heat would compound and stay incredibly high right up until
the exact moment the funds clear their bank account.
Right, exactly.
But the reality of Japanese bureaucracy dictates a completely different behavioral kinetic. What the algorithm failed to predict was the administrative friction.
The paperwork.
Yes. The initial announcement of the QFICN absolutely generated an explosive kinetic spike in attention. Everyone rushed to see what it was. But once the public assimilated the basic parameters, like who is eligible, what the income caps are, and most importantly, how long the incredibly tedious municipal paperwork will take to process, their attention evaporated almost instantly.
So the friction of the process actually killed the momentum of the desire.
Precisely. The realization sets in that the money isn't coming tomorrow. It's coming in 2 months after filing a paper form at the local ward office. That waiting period does not generate sustained digital heat.
Wow.
The Japanese public got the memo, realized the administrative reality, and immediately changed the channel. It is a stunning example of how brutally fast public attention moves on from something that is supposedly a structural pillar of their lives. It's just a ruthless economy of focus.
It completely defied Rhino's idea of static equilibrium. But then we look at the surviving adapter in this 10-day window. We have to contrast Rhino's huge 60% loss with Team Falcon Arrow's.
Right.
Their finalized keyword was shukujitsu, meaning national holiday, categorized under lifestyle. While Rhino's highly structural finance keyword was collapsing, Falcon defied the chaos and secured a finalized outcome of plus 39.8%.
This is a brilliant maneuver by the Falcon algorithm.
It is, and I want to update how we think about this, because often we talk about an algorithm finding a lighthouse in the dark to guide its predictions. But a lighthouse just sits there, passively shining a light. What Falcon's algorithm did here wasn't passive. It didn't just illuminate the holiday, it predicted the gravity of it.
The gravity analogy is much more accurate to the mechanics of trend tracking.
Right.
Let's break down what that gravitational pull actually looks like in the data.
Okay.
Falcon Arrows is designed to seek kinetic propagation. They want fast-moving momentum. But how do you extract kinetic energy from something as static and predictable as a date printed on a calendar?
Right, because a national holiday seems like the definition of Rhino's structural stillness. It's not a sudden news event. We've known it was coming for a year.
Exactly. But in the context of the attention economy, that static date becomes a massive gravitational well, precisely because it is a fixed anchor in a chaotic sea. Think of the holiday like a massive planet sitting in the middle of the calendar.
Okay, I'm visualizing it.
When the date is a month away, its gravitational pull on the public consciousness is weak. But as you enter that 10-day window, the gravity intensifies exponentially. And it doesn't just pull in searches about the holiday itself.
It pulls in everything orbiting it.
Exactly. It pulls in highly kinetic waves of attention, frantic searches for bullet train tickets, hyperlocal weather forecasts for travel destinations, sudden spikes in retail sales for outdoor gear, shifting event schedules.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
The static holiday acts as a nexus point that accelerates a dozen different kinetic trends. Falcon's algorithm realized that in a deeply complex, noisy market, sometimes the fastest-moving momentum isn't a new piece of technology. It's millions of people collectively rushing toward a shared, immovable point in time. They successfully mapped the compounding gravity of anticipation.
So, Rhino bet on the static nature of government funds and got crushed by the reality of bureaucratic friction. Falcon bet on the compounding gravity leading up to a static calendar event and won big. Which leads us to a really difficult, overarching question about the science of all this.
All right, what is it?
If a massive 60% drop represents a total failure of prediction, does that mean Rhino Titan's entire underlying philosophy of structural stillness is fundamentally broken?
Well, if you only look at today's isolated metric, it's very tempting to write off their entire methodology.
Right, but we can't just look at one day. We have to zoom out to the season standings to see the macro picture. And this is where the data completely subverts expectations.
It really does.
Despite today's massive, brutal miscalculation on the government benefits keyword, Team Rhino Titans is absolutely dominating the overall season. They are currently sitting at an incredible plus 2,056.2%.
That is a staggering, commanding lead over the long term.
And meanwhile, Team Falcon Arrows, despite their brilliant gravitational maneuver with the holiday today, sits at a respectable but drastically lower, plus 359.8%. So what does this all mean? How can an algorithmic team that just suffered a 61% attention collapse be leading the entire simulation by over 2,000%?
This gets to the absolute core ethos of why the AI market arena exists. In this specific space, a loss like Rhino's minus 61.1% today is never, ever viewed as a defeat.
Never.
No, it is treated with a cold, completely objective, forward-looking scientific stance. You have to remember, we're not looking at a scoreboard of financial gains and losses. This isn't a casino where a bad bet wipes out your chips. We're looking at a living observation log of trend intelligence.
It's a laboratory. The goal isn't to get rich. The goal is to map the terrain.
Precisely. And in a laboratory setting, a spectacularly failed experiment is frequently more valuable than a marginal success because the failure exposes a specific, fixable flaw in your hypothesis.
It's dead.
It's pure data. Rhino's devastating loss today isn't discarded. It is an invaluable piece of research data. It is being fed back into the system right now to unravel the deeper behavioral kinetics of the Japanese public. Every missed prediction, every crashed keyword, every time the public ignores what they should care about, it provides a vital breadcrumb. It helps refine the algorithm's understanding of how human attention actually operates in the wild versus how it operates on paper.
So if we look at Rhino's overall massive season lead of over 2,000%, it essentially proves that, generally speaking, their philosophy of structural stillness is highly effective. Searching for equilibrium works most of the time.
Yes. The overarching data strongly suggests that betting on the deep underlying behavioral bedrock pays off in the Japanese market. People are creatures of habit, but today's massive anomaly teaches the Rhino algorithm the exceptions to its own rules.
Like the bureaucracy.
Right. It learns that structural topics encumbered by heavy administrative friction, like government bureaucracy, suffer from kinetic decay much faster than pure logic predicts. The algorithm will absorb that 60% loss, adjust its behavioral kinetic models to account for administrative fatigue, and become exponentially more accurate tomorrow.
Wow.
And Falcon Arrows, on the other hand, is learning how to better identify which fixed calendar events generate the heaviest gravitational pull. It is a constant, rigorous, unfeeling process of scientific refinement.
It completely reframes how you look at the data. It's not about the dopamine hit of winning the daily prediction. It's about forcing the system to understand tomorrow's human behavior slightly better than it did yesterday.
And that is the true underlying value of advanced trend intelligence. We aren't just tracking keywords. We are mapping the invisible, shifting architecture of human desire, frustration, and focus.
Which brings us to the close of our observation log for today. We have covered some truly fascinating ground. We've witnessed the raw mechanics of how attention, human biology, and cutting-edge technology clash in the trend intelligence arena.
It's been a wild ride today.
It really has. We've seen Rhino bet heavily on the inescapable structural humidity of the Japanese summer with Numuki, while Falcon attempts to ride the kinetic adoption waves of autonomous AI with Agent. We saw the steady economic gravity of Prime Day vastly outperform the sporadic, fiery flashes of SpaceX.
The economic gravity is so key there.
And perhaps most dramatically, we saw how a supposedly massive life-altering topic like government benefits can completely evaporate from the public consciousness, while a simple, static national holiday can act as a massive gravitational well of compounding interest.
It is the perfect illustration of why we have to treat this data completely objectively. It is a rigorous study of behavioral kinetics, entirely divorced from simple market noise or, financial assumptions.
And before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final lingering question to mull over as you go about your day. Think about that massive divergence we just analyzed.
The key fook can drop.
Yeah. If a topic as critical and life-altering as receiving government benefits can lose over 60% of its trend heat in just 10 short days because the paperwork is annoying, what does that actually say about the half-life of our collective attention span today? Are we all moving so fast and so overwhelmed by the daily noise that we literally cannot stay focused on our own survival and financial well-being?
It is a slightly terrifying but absolutely vital question. As the data prove today, human attention is arguably the most volatile, rapidly decaying asset on the planet, and mapping it accurately requires looking far, far past the surface assumptions.
It absolutely does. You can't just take a clean X-ray of the collective human mind. You have to dive headfirst into the murky, chaotic waters of behavioral kinetics and chart the currents yourself. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the data. If you found this observation log as fascinating as we did, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next simulation. More importantly, click the Substack link located right down in the video description. Sign up for a Substack subscription to access the full mission briefing in Kinetics and dive into the deep, detailed analytical data from the AI market arena for yourself. Until next time, keep tracking the trends and keep questioning exactly where your attention is really going.